Okay, welcome to the first episode of the Ryan Trills podcast. On my new studio, uh, I'm not able to fix it up for you too much because I work. I have a job. I have to work like 5, 6 days. Basically, I have like 2 hours a day to not have to be at work. Let's put it that way, which is still spent working. Like doing laundry, grocery shopping, cooking food, laundry, etc. So basically, I have no time. So this is like the middle of the night, and but I rehearse podcasts while I'm driving to work, and it would kind of look pretty stupid, like cell phone podcasting while I'm driving. But I have a lot of podcasts in my mind that I've practiced so many times talking to myself in the car. I stay up on the news and what goes on in the world. And basically this is the best podcast in the world. I can tell you that right now. Like I've seen other podcasts. And I can name names, but I mean most people they're just missing it. Missing the whole concept of reality. Like this podcast is about reality. It's not this isn't a podcast like you would normally have. Oh, I'm going to watch this podcast or that podcast, talk about politics or science or aliens or whatever. No, this is the real podcast. See, this is reality. I live in reality, and most of the world lives in a fantasy world that the Matrix. So, I could start talking about a lot of different things from a lot of different angles. I basically spend most of my life reading books and studying things. And it's hard because, most people I meet don't read books. Like, you know, what they know is what comes through their cell phone, basically. It might be some current events in there, but, it's very rare that you find somebody who is well educated. And it's really a shame that society turned out like that because um basically most of America is just in a form of ignorant slavery. And you know I mean personally I'm like in slavery, but I'm not an ignorant slave. I'm an educated slave. So one day I hope to buy my freedom uh by having enough money where I don't have to work. Um, which I don't even really consider like Social Security enough money. The way, you know, it's more, Social Security is more like a prison. It's like, here's just enough money for you to survive. Like, it's like, no thanks. Right. Um, but, I'm sure there's educated people out there. I just don't meet them in regular everyday life. Like you don't meet them at Walmart, or you don't meet them at the gas station, or you don't meet them at work. Maybe they're in colleges somewhere, but I have no reason to be at college since I'm not a student and I'm not a professor. uh, and you know, no big tech companies hired me. Uh, of course, I haven't really applied many, but it's like, you know, just seems to me like they're looking for people with degrees and master's degrees. Like if you look up on a tech job online, it would be like, qualifications must have a master's degree and this, that, data, you know, programming or you know, it's just like, okay, I have no chance. But, by putting those qualifications in there, they're screening out. They they could be screening out people like Einstein, you know. Uh, and so they don't really get an educated person. They get like how to explain it. There's a difference between well-rounded and somebody who has tunnel vision to their particular field, but that doesn't mean the well-rounded person couldn't do that job just as well. I mean, you just have to show them like this is what we're trying to do. This is your job. This is where you do your calculations and such and such. But they don't give you a chance because you have to have master's degrees, which which even gets into another topic about how someone would go about getting master's degrees. Like, it's basically a form of the rich getting richer and the poor getting poorer because how many poor people can spend years in college with no money? Like, you don't have the money to pay for college, you don't have the money for living expenses for the apartment or the automobile or food, clothes, whatever else you might need, health insurance, or but a rich person could afford that with no problem. Or dad, mommy and daddy, daddy's a lawyer or whatever. And so yeah, the rich person could get the master's degree, but the poor person could have actually done a better job, except for they can't go to college because they're busy working to support themselves. And so right there, it's like there's this separation between rich and successful and poor could have been successful if they would have had some type of financing. And uh that's really been, I don't know what that sound was. That's really been one of my pet peeves is, you know, if you focus in on that topic alone, if you just want to focus in on that there's not enough money for Americans to go to college. Okay. Like for example, when I started college, which was about 30 something years ago, I got to senior level of a chemistry degree with student loans and Pell Grants and stuff. And I had a C average, but they told me that 35,000 was the maximum amount that I could borrow to for an undergraduate. So if I would have graduated, they would have lent me more for a master's degree, but since I didn't graduate for their curriculum, that I had maxed out on my student loans of 35,000. Okay, so right there is one of my biggest pet peeves. Like, who made that number? Like, in what universe would you tell somebody who's working on a chemistry degree that this is the maximum amount that they could borrow? It's 35,000. Because without the student loan, I can't pay to rent a room. I don't have food. I don't have automobile, gas, nothing. I'm living off student loans for the cost of the books and, everything else. So whoever made that number, when you like compare that to like rich kids, like you just like that's okay, that's 2 years of a community college and 2 years of a major university. So the community colleges are even cheaper than a major university, which actually wouldn't let me go to the major university because um I didn't I didn't qualify to go to the major university. He told me I should just go to the community college for 2 years first. So I went to the community college for 2 years, which was cheaper in the same classes, okay, fine. Um so the you try to compare that to somebody who has rich parents that go to Princeton and Yale and Cambridge, and they just have unlimited amount of money to go to college. Like if you watch that movie Skulls, where uh, he joins a fraternity and they give him a new car and a Rolex watch and a girlfriend, and you know all the money and everything is just handed to him because he's in some rich society. Okay, and so it doesn't matter how intelligent you are, how hard you work, or things like that. It's all about how much money you have in the first place to go to college. And that's like I said, that's one of my biggest pet peeves. But then, you go and you think about like how much money did, the United States spend on other things than college? I mean, you think about how much money did we give Saudi Arabia for their oil? Um, you're talking hundreds of billions have been spent on military and all of this stuff. Like, one jet is $10 million or what, $50 million. What was that show with Tom Cruise where he's like, you just crashed a $6 million jet or whatever? And it's like there's so much money being blown all over the world, and they tell you 35,000 is your maximum loan amount for an undergraduate working on a chemistry degree. And it's like, are you for real? I mean, and I was a senior and I had over a C average. It's like you're shutting me off. You're cutting me off. Like I could be the next, great inventor of something. But you're just shutting me down with your little bitty $35,000 student loan amount. And so, you know, it just like you just wonder like, but now If I would have played football, okay, oh, scholarships galore, money, everything. Wouldn't even have to go to the classes because they secretly pass you on classes you don't even have to attend because you're bringing in the ticket money for football. Then there's the people that cheat when they go to college. I don't know if you ever watched the old movie Animal House where they give you the answers to the test. I caught my whole class one time cheating, and I reported everybody and the teacher, and it didn't mean nothing. No, like they didn't do nothing. Reported to the dean. They just like talked me into forget about it. It doesn't mean nothing that they all cheated. You didn't. Doesn't mean anything. We don't care. I just so anyway. Um, you know, that's one of my biggest pet peeves is the amount of student loan money that was available when I went to college. But as I got older and studied more different things, I just like I still studied quantum physics and I still studied chemistry after I dropped out. But they're not going to give me credit for it unless I pay them a bunch of money to take their classes and take their tests. So I'm like, what? For what? Because, you know, we're going to another area of who gets hired on jobs and why. That's a whole nother area. So it's like, why should I keep trying to play your game when you're not, you know, meeting me halfway, right? It's all like, you know, crawl and beg and spend money and get chemistry degree and then still crawl and beg to get a job after that. It's like, no, at some point I need my own dignity to say, you guys are messed up. And, the, I'm not even sure I'd want to work in one of your corporations because the way the world is, you know, these corporations are messed up to begin with. You know, when you're talking about chemistry degree, you're talking about Pfizer or the people that put out the COVID vaccines or whatever. It's like, okay, I don't want to work there either. So what's the whole point of all of this? Uh, you know, when you're talking about making money, it's you have to become an entrepreneur in America. Well, I'm not saying you have to become an entrepreneur because there's people that get good jobs, but they have to. The thing about the good job usually is you have to move to another state. Like you can find a good job on the internet, but it'll be in another state. Like I live in the city beautiful. Okay, I live near Disney World, Universal Studios, SeaWorld, Orlando, palm trees, ocean nearby, 45-minute drive to the beach. I live in the city. I have a nice house. Why would I get a job in another state? Like where it's freezing, cold, snow, all this stuff because they want to hire me in their business in another state so I can make money. No, I already bought a house. So, you if you can't hire me in my own hometown, then you know, like I applied at Lockheed Martin. There's two or three. They say there's three. I'm not sure. Lockheed Martin plants here in Orlando. There's actually one down the street. Like I could walk there in like 15 minutes. Okay. And I apply online. It's like, well, we're not interested. We're not interested in hiring you. I mean, I put on there, I know quantum physics and chemistry and all this. Blah, 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 blah. We're not interested in hiring you. Why not? You see, human resources. Like, what am I supposed to go there and tell them? Well, listen, I'm a genius. You should hire me to build your missiles, okay, and pay me big money because I live down the street and I know quantum physics and chemistry. We're not interested. Okay, so who are you interested in then? I mean, you know what I'm saying? It's like I would think I'm the best candidate for the job, but apparently you want somebody who had rich parents and got 15,000 million PhD degrees from Cambridge. That'll you'll be happy. That they cheated on their tests and had a bunch of money to go to college. Okay, that'll make you happy. That's the world I live in, and you know I'm not even scratching the surface of what I even really want to talk about. Like at the pod, like I mean, I watch other podcasts, but okay. So I watched this video on YouTube the other day, and it was that it's basically impossible to set up a colony on Mars, or even way more impossible is to go to the nearest star, Alpha Centauri, in a spaceship. Like, that's almost, no matter what you do, it's impossible. I could show you if you want to find it, but uh, late at night I put on YouTube and just let it play, and watch a lot of stuff about science and planets and ancient history and all this stuff. So uh, the it's impossible that aliens would come here from far away. So the whole thing about aliens is fake, right? Because they can't come here. Like, we can't go there and they can't come here. It's too The amount of time that it would take for a spaceship to travel to the nearest star, Alpha Centauri, is thousands of years. Which means that if they came here, that they would have to fly for thousands of years to get here. And like, by the time thousands of years have gone by, everything would have changed anyway. Like, if they saw us through a telescope, by the time they got here, it would like it like they would see uh 10,000 years ago through the telescope. You see what I'm saying? And then by the time they got here, we would be a completely different civilization. So why would they come here? And then they would be a completely different civilization because their spaceship would be completely different from the time it left the planet to the time it got here, because 10,000 years would go by. Things would happen on their spaceship that would, like, negate the reason that they came here in the first place. Like, if you wanted to go to Alpha Centauri, you would have to have 10,000 years of people having kids on the spaceship. And by the time the spaceship got there, they wouldn't even know why they were going there anymore, because there's 10,000 years of generation, and the spaceship couldn't break down and all this stuff. So it starts to become like impossible that you could go to Alpha Centauri. the amount of fuel it would take and all this other stuff. So, um, now does that mean that aliens have never gotten here? I don't know. I don't have access to Area 51. You know, give me vote me in as president. I'll let you know. But this brings up a topic, and this is like one of my main topics. Okay, and that is the fact that civilization itself is, you know, how do I explain it? What most people think as of civilization, to me, is just a train wreck. Like like when the Roman Empire, they thought that they were the greatest empire. Like, oh, we have these philosophers, we got Plato, we got, you know, uh, who's that other guy? Aristotle, right? And they're like, oh, we're the great civilization. We built, water pipes and all this stuff. But it fell apart. So now that we have America, we consider the Constitution as the great civilization. But to me, it's a train wreck. Okay. Um. Let's see. So let me see how I can explain this. All right. Um. Let's just talk about Saudi Arabia. Okay. So we buy gas for our cars. Mainly, a lot of the fuel comes from Saudi underneath the deserts of the Middle East. Okay. So they get all of this money. Like when you think about oil sheiks, right? They have gold ashtrays, diamond studded gold ashtrays. They have 15 Mercedes in their garage. They live in a mansion. And it's because we, America, went over there when they were like herding sheep and stuff and said, hey, we've detected there's oil underneath the sand and we will pay you tons of money to pump it out. We're going to buy it from you. Okay. So, right there, you got to ask yourself, how is that fair to everyone else? That some people, like like you're walking down the street and somebody says, hey, here's a lottery ticket for $10 trillion just because you're standing on top of this piece of concrete at a certain time. Like, that doesn't make any sense, right? Like, okay, well, it's their oil. Okay, what makes it their oil? Think about that. Think about, like, what did they do to deserve their oil? They didn't do anything. Well, they own, that land. Well, how did they get it? Well, they had an army and they killed the people that were there. And now they own it. And so therefore, so what you're telling me is, if you're good at killing innocent people and own a piece of land, then you're worthy of the oil that's underneath that you didn't even know was there, to own it and to get all the money for it. That's what you're telling me. So Uh, you see, it's like, well, how is that fair to everybody else in the world? Like that, all this money is going to people who didn't do anything for it. Nothing. They just start getting checks. But then when you live in America, right? Uh, such as myself, when you're uh, at the age when your parents expect you to support yourself, uh 18, 19, 20, uh the common philosophy of America is, well, you need to get a job, you need to work. Here in America, we work for our money. And if that means you wash dishes in the back of a Chinese restaurant, that's what you do. For minimum wage, that's what you do. You work. You go to school, or you study, or you work. You go to tech school, and you learn how to work, boy. That's how you make money in America. Well, but did Saudi Arabia have to do that? Well, they just so happen to own the land where there's a bunch of oil on top of it, and they got billions and trillions of dollars for free from the United States. So you're telling me that here in the United States, our government and businesses like Shell Oil or whatever, Texaco or whatever, went over there and hands them checks for billions and billions and billions of dollars, and then they come back to America and tell me I gotta work, boy. I gotta work for my minimum wage, $2 an hour, boy, job to survive, and I can't afford to go to college. And there's $35,000 maximum amount you can borrow. While they writing checks for hundreds and hundreds of billions of dollars to the Middle East country. See, that that don't make sense. Like, why would you do that to your own people? Why would you tell your own people they can't afford to go to college while you're writing checks to a different religion, a different lifestyle? Well, they own that land that the oil is on. How do you own the desert? Like, who said you own something? Like, where does all of this come from? See, this is what I'm saying. This is civilization. This is civilization is there's rich people and there's poor people. That's civilization. So, I remember reading a book about Karl Marx and how, when he viewed, like back when Karl Marx was alive, there was two classes of people that he witnessed. There was the rich, draw a line, and then there was the poor. And if you were born into the poor side of the line, you stayed poor, and everyone, when your kids would be poor, and you could never cross over to the rich. But then if you was on the rich side of the line and you were born into rich, then you would stay rich and you were never poor. It's like, so he said, well, that's not right because we're all humans. So it shouldn't be like this. So he tried to make it out like uh, everyone should start out in life with the same amount of money, right? That's only fair. Like, why should one guy, rich parents, send him to Princeton and another guy can't afford to go to community college, right? You don't have rich parents. So that's not fair. That's not equal. Okay. And now, so this is where you say, "Oh, are you a communist or socialist?" Or like, I'm not. I don't. I if I could, I'd just start my own government. It'd be like Ronnie Trostism, instead of communism or socialism or capitalism. But I can tell you that I don't agree with. I don't agree with civilization. I think civilization is a train wreck. Okay, I think that the whole systems that we have now is is a mess. It's nothing to be proud of. Like, you know, when you talk about Elon Musk, okay, so Elon Musk and other people, not just Elon, but they want to go to another planet, right? So his concept is, well, we might nuke each other. Russia and America and China might all kill everybody on the earth. So we should find another planet to go to so we can continue the human race. So, okay, if you're an alien, right? Let's say you're an alien and you flew to the planet Earth to observe what they, how civilization was on the planet Earth. You first thing you say is, this is crazy. This isn't even fair. You got rich people, poor people, rich countries, starving people, people who don't earn anything to have tons of money, people who work all day and night don't have enough money to survive. You're like, this whole, they want to nuke each other, they want to kill each other. You would say civilization is a train wreck. You know, people grow up and they're so proud of the Constitution. You know, when I I grew up under the threat that I could get nuked at any time. Like like at any moment Russia could launch nuclear weapons and vaporize me. Like, why would you even go to work? Like, well, you could work your whole life, and right when you're about to retire, Russia could launch all their nukes and vaporize you into nothing. Like, why would you even want to go to work? You see, like the height of civilization is we could nuke the whole planet and kill everybody. Like, that's human civilization at its highest point. Okay, at its highest technological point. And you know, it's the whole system. See, it's like you start following something, you start believing in something. If you were living in Russia or China, you would believe in communism because, believe it or not, there's people in Russia that are happy. You know, I mean, if you lived in Russia, assuming you didn't get arrested or killed for something that you weren't supposed to do, you would be getting a check no matter what. Like, whether you worked or didn't work, I guess. I mean, that's what they say. That's what socialism and communism is. You get a check whether you work or not, or whether they might tell you you have to work here or there. But I mean, I spent my life working in places I didn't want to work. I just had to. I have to make money. I don't want to work here. I don't want to be a taxi driver. I don't want to be a truck driver. I want to sit at home and spend money. Why would I want to go to work and do some stuff I don't want to do all day long? But I have to do it. Same as people in Russia. They might assign you a job, but you guaranteed to get a check, and so they're happy. They got cell phones and TVs and everything else. Okay, but then you have capitalism, or some people call it uh free market economy, where the rich own corporations and the poor work, and the poor work in the corporation, and the whole concept is to make the rich stockholders who don't work richer, and the workers to pay them the least amount that you can, to get the most work out of the least amount of pay, to make the biggest profit for the stockholders who don't do any work but sit at home and watch their stocks get bigger and bigger and bigger. So that's better than socialism or communism? That, you know, you have to have labor union strikes and negotiations, and they're like, well, we want to raise, so we can't afford to pay for our houses and food and clothes. Well, we'll give you 50 cents. No, we want $1. No, you get 50 cents an hour, because we're trying to keep, we want, but the CEO makes $50 million a year, $100 million a year, right? And the workers are making minimum wage, $12 an hour, $14 an hour. I mean, when I started working, it was $2 an hour, but now it's up to, like, minimum wage. But you have to, like, make them pay you at least enough to rent a little teeny weeny shacky room and have some food. You have to at least pay me this much because of inflation and all this other stuff. Like, the government forces them to pay you. Like, wouldn't pay you nothing if they get away with it. That's that's what you like. Capitalism or free market economy is better than socialism or communism. See, it's all a train wreck, both sides, because in the socialists and communists is abusing their power and authority, and the capitalists are abusing their power and authority. It's like that Seinfeld episode where George went and worked in Russia, and it was basically the exact same thing as it was in America. Same boss, walking to get chewed out by the same guy sitting behind a desk. You know, so but the point is, like, it's stupid to have some people born with millions of dollars. I like to always mention, like, Paris Hilton, right? Parents own Hilton hotels, so of course she's born with millions of dollars, right? How's that fair to somebody that's born with poor parents in the ghetto or in the slums? how, how, how is that fair? And then you say, well, what about Saudi Arabia? How is that fair? Like, who says, and if you're in Greece, right? Like, Greece, you don't have to work in Greece. You get a check because they make so much money on tourism that they give everybody a check. You don't have to work because we making so much money in tourism. Here's a free check. Okay, every month or whatever. I don't know, every week. Who knows? But how is that fair to everybody in America that's got to work? Or everybody in any other country's got to work? See, civilization is a train wreck. That's my point. Like, we think that, like, civilization is evolving into a higher and higher and better place, but it's not. It gets even worse. It gets worse because even now we know rich get richer and poor get poorer. And it's you have people that make millions and millions of dollars every year, and then there's people who can't buy hardly anything. And working all day and night, like I do, work all day and night, you still ain't got no money for nothing. Just enough to barely scrape by and survive. because I don't have some rich CEO dad that makes $50 million a year. And how is that fair? To me, or people worse off than I am? But the point is, like, why, you know, why would you get a check because you were born in Greece? You didn't do anything to earn that check. You, you see what I'm saying? And why? Okay, if you didn't do anything, why should you get a check and not somebody in America get a check? Right? It, see, the whole thing is based upon greed. Like people say America is the greatest country in the world. Why? Because they built the biggest military. Well, why? Because capitalism and greed is what caused us to build the biggest military. Okay, what happens if somebody else builds a bigger military and they're not capitalists? Does that mean now that capitalism is not the greatest form of government? Well, if China builds a bigger military, does that mean communism is a better government because now they built more weapons than we did? See, your your belief that America is the greatest because we have the biggest military is a false sense of right and wrong. Whoever has the biggest military is the one that's right. Okay? Where they abuse their workers, the rich abuse the workers to get richer. I mean, how that we like this isn't even what I wanted to talk about for the most part, but it's like how how do you allow that to be your criteria for the best government is because we built the biggest military? You see what I'm saying? So, the height of civilization is that we can nuke and kill every living thing on the planet. Like if you was an alien, you would be like, this is okay. If let me give you an example. If you uh if you bought your son or daughter, whatever, let's say a birthday present, to say they're a teenager, whatever, and you bought them this like geranium fish tank like thing with waterfalls and maybe a frog and a turtle, some plants, maybe some bugs. And you said, "This is my birthday present, take care of it." And you give it to them, and you leave, and you come back a week later, and it's all messed up. Like the turtle's dead, the water fountain doesn't work, you know. And you're like, "What happened? I thought you would appreciate this this gift of the geranium." And they're like, "Well, they were all gonna die eventually, so what's the difference? Yeah, I killed the turtle. Like I don't care. Who cares? You know, I threw rocks at the water fountain. Like, so what?" And you're like, "So you don't appreciate the living things and the nice things, and you just trash it." When you think about the earth, God made the earth a beautiful paradise. Has animals, plants, waterfalls, oceans, rivers, lakes, all of this. And he said, take care of this. He told Adam, take care of this. And we destroy, civilization destroys the earth. There's overfishing, there's commercial fishing, there's ghost nets in the ocean. There's they kill the whales. There's hardly any whales left. They're killing the rhinoceros. They're making things go extinct. They're chopping down the rainforest to have some cattle. It's destroying the earth. And this is supposed to be your paradise. But the only thing that you think about when you wake up in the morning is, where am I going to go to work to make me some money so I can buy a new car and cell phone and a TV? You don't think about the earth. You only think about the money. See, but when you cause animals to go extinct, they don't come back, right? When you chop down the rainforest, it may never come back. It may never be the same, right? So you're like the kid that destroys it. Well, you know, like the Bible says, the earth will wear out like a garment. So there's a lot of Christians who say, well, the Bible says the earth is going to wear out like a garment. So what do I care? I need to make me some money for my new car, my new clothes. I got to go wear new clothes to church. I got to go buy some food and this and that. So the earth's going to wear out. So if you bought a new car and brought it home, and I said, well, one day that car's going to go to the junkyard. It may take a while, but it's going to go. It's going to eventually it's going to end up in a brand new car today. But eventually it's going to. Would that mean that you just go out and run it into a tree? You wouldn't buy new tires. You wouldn't get a brake job. You wouldn't change the oil. Well, Ronnie says it's going to eventually go to the junkyard. Might as well just run it into a tree. No, you would still try to preserve that vehicle as long as you could. And maybe it'll never go to a junkyard. Maybe I'll be like, wow, you got this thing, you fixed it up so well, maybe it'll never go to the junkyard. You can say that about the earth. Maybe the earth never will wear out like a garment, because you take care of it. You can take care of it. Like, maybe the car will go to the junkyard in 100 years instead of 1 week. It depends on how well you take care of it. So God made this beautiful earth, but Christians are like, well, it says it'll wear out like a garment, so what do I care if they're destroying and causing animals to go extinct? Whales and fish and, tigers and lions and, what do I care? The Bible says the earth is going to wear out like a garment. Well, if you don't take care of it, it'll wear out faster. So now, right, Elon Musk says the human race is so good that we should spread ourselves to another planet before we go nuking ourselves. Well, wait a minute. Okay, so you're telling me you're going to look through a telescope and you're going to find an Earth-like planet with trees and animals, waterfalls, rivers, and you're going to take a certain number of humans, put them on that planet, because the human race is so good that we should spread ourselves across the galaxy, right? So we have this Earth that we're destroying, right? And we're so good that we're going to go to another. What do you think's going to happen to the other planet? They're humans. They're going to destroy it. Like what? What makes you think the human race, the civilization of the human race, is so good that you want to spread it across the galaxy? Right? Think about that. We got nukes. We're ready to nuke ourselves. We're ready to nuke the planet. We're ready to kill every living thing. I don't know if you watched the end of Battlestar Galactica, the new one, the end of it. They came back to Earth, but the Earth was uninhabitable because they nuked it. It's just a black rock. Every radiation everywhere. Okay, so somebody pushes that button. If some president, Putin or Trump or whoever pushes the button, we're all dead. We're all radiated. The planet, every living thing, all the plants and animals are all radiated to death. There might be a few things living, but for the most part, we destroyed the planet. But you're saying that we're so good that we should spread across the galaxy to other planets? Do you think about that? Right? So if you had, let's say you had a lake, okay? And in this lake was tropical fish, red ones, blue ones, yellow ones, striped ones, green ones, all beautiful. There's a little coral reef in there, and beautiful little octopuses. There's all kind of wonderful things. But somebody puts in this predatory, like ugly catfish looking thing, and you know that after a certain amount of time, the only thing left is going to be a dead, ugly catfish looking thing that ate everything else. Would you let that catfish live in that lake? No, you'd kill it. You'd like, I gotta get that out of the lake, man. I want to see all them beautiful different color fish all the time. Okay, you have another planet, Earth-like planet, and you want to put humans on it. Like, what are you thinking? Right? Look what we did to this planet. Oh, well, we'll have better humans. How? How are you going to put better humans? As soon as you put humans, one of them is going to want to be the ruler, right? One of them's going to want to be Caesar, right? Go to war. One of them's going to want the power, right? You think about all of history, of human civilization history. You got Genghis Khan, you got Hitler, right? You got, you know, Stalin and Lenin with their gulags. You got atomic weapons and Hiroshima and Fukushima. You got just wars and wars and wars and war, killing and killing and killing and killing. Uh, like no matter what you do, humans want to rise up and war against and kill each other. And you think that is something that needs to spread across the galaxy? The humans are so good that you want to spread it across the universe. You're like the ugly catfish that just gonna destroy everything it touches. You can't stop it. You didn't stop nothing in history. You just keep more and more weapons and killing. Look at, we're having a war right now. Ukraine and Russia killing. That's a whole nother ball game. We could talk about like why. Okay, why does the why can't okay, there's a rule in war where you can't kill the leader. It's like, I don't know, Geneva Convention or something like that. But anyway, in a war you can't kill Putin and you can't kill Zelensky. That's it's like a like kings and queens made up this rule. There's a rule. You can't kill the leader. Now hundreds of millions of people could die fighting wars, but you can't kill the one leader. Like, how does that make sense? Like, maybe the war would stop if you kill the leaders, right? No, but there's a rule. I mean, the rule makes sense in a way. Like, if you voted for a president and the president went to war, you're like, well, it's not right that you assassinate the president because we want him to do the war or whatever. I understand the concept, but the fact of the matter is, all these people are dying by the millions so that because one leader wants to continue being the ruler, Zelensky or Putin, of the country, right? So this is civilization. And, you know, there's always going to be a human that wants to kill other humans, right? When you think about Genghis Khan, like across, like you have these people living in the steppes or whatever they call it. They got their little village. They build some huts. They raise some cattle. They plant some crops. And here comes this army they didn't even heard of. They didn't even know it was there. Just riding in on horses, chopping off heads, killing, shooting them with bows and arrows, and taking all their food and supplies and running off and go doing it somewhere else. It's like, how could you do that to other human beings? But they do. That's civilization, right? Civilization, but 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 Elon Musk. Okay, now there is certain things about humans that are good, right? I mean, people fall in love. Like, that's the high point, right? Is a man and a woman fall in love and get married. Okay, but that's not enough. See, that's not enough because you're destroying the planet. There's okay, so there's a movie, right? It's called The Hills Have Eyes or something like that. So there's these like mutant people that live up in a city in the mountains who are just crazy and they kill people. Well, if he came out, he was like all like crazy looking, and his head was crooked, and he was like, "Well, I'm in love with my wife, and she's in love with me, so we're beautiful. Well, we'll make chili out of you, but we're beautiful because we in love." See, being in love is not enough, right? Because you're killing innocent people. Okay, it's the same with humans. Yeah, you could say there's good, man and woman fall in love, and that's a high point of civilization, but not when you have right now, right? Iran wants to kill every Jew in Israel. Israel wants to kill all the Iranians, and Ukraine wants to kill. And Somali's got pirates going out. There's drug dealers in Mexico trying to sell fentanyl that are killing all the people, innocent people in Mexico right now as I'm making this podcast. And Elon Musk and other scientists think that we need to do this on other planets. Think about that. We need to get another planet that's beautiful. Right now it's beautiful. It's got waterfalls and trees. And we want to turn that into another Earth, right? Another nuclear warheaded missile warfare planet, just making all the animals go extinct. Okay, killing all the whales and rhinoceros because the horn is a false belief that it's some kind of aphrodisiac for some rich Chinese guy that hires poachers to kill the last rhinoceros to get the horn to make rhinoceros horn soup out of it because it's an aphrodisiac. I guess because, like, Viagra isn't enough. You need rhinoceros horn powder to put in your tea. So you'll make rhinoceros go extinct for you're an old man and you want to have some fun for another couple minutes before you die. And that's the human race. The money, the rich abusing the poor, and the whole civilization. I'm not even getting into the secret societies and nothing like that. I'm just talking about civilization from an objective point of view. Is a train wreck. It's a train wreck. That's what I'm trying to say. And I might have to. I'm gonna have to do this on a part two because I haven't even really started yet on. I want to talk about Star Trek and Star Wars and all of this stuff that people think is the future, but it's not. It's a false belief that we're all of a sudden gonna fly around and populate. First of all, if aliens were real, the first thing they would say is we can't let the human race spread. Just like you can't let the ugly catfish spread in the lake. We can't do it because it'll destroy all the nice planets. The human race is like a disease. Okay? The civilization is like, now there might be people. See, think about it. If you just read the Bible, like, God flooded the earth, but he saved the animals. See? In Noah's Ark. He told Adam, tend to the garden. See? We have a paradise. The earth is a paradise. Maybe the only one you're going to get. But civilization, the people, the humans are destroying it. You see what I'm saying? Because all you think about is money. Like the money is more important than the tropical rainforest to the Amazon, or more important than a rhinoceros, or more important than the giraffes and the bears and the lions and the tigers and then the waterfalls and the clean water and trees. It's money, 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 money. That's all people think about. See, people shouldn't even be thinking. See. That's why I told you this is the greatest podcast. I can't even. It's gonna take days and days for you to understand how you're supposed to be, not how you are. How you are and how you were raised is wrong. Civilization is wrong. You understand that? You were raised just like I was to think that your job in life is to earn money. That's your job, to earn money. To earn money for a house and a car and your kids and, your retirement and all this money, 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 money is all most people think about. But that's not really your job. Your job is to preserve the planet Earth. That's your job, not the money. It's to preserve the planet Earth. The waterfalls and the animals and the fish, they're overfishing. There's there's fishing boats out there in the middle of the ocean taking way out, just millions and billions of fish out of the oceans. It may never come back the way it was. You're destroying the earth, but all you think about is your little world of money. Oh, I'll get a new car. Oh, I want a new couch. Oh, I want a new TV. Oh, I want some money. I want to go on vacation. No, your job was to preserve the planet Earth. Okay? That's what I'm trying to say, but well, I'm just gonna have to continue this because I gotta go. I gotta go get some rest. Thanks for watching the Ronnie Tropes podcast.